Six Nations Super Saturday this weekend, folks. The final week of the Six Nations. All of the games are important. Ireland can go top of the Six Nations with their game against Italy if they had to get a win. Italy can confirm they won't be getting a wooden spoon depending on their result. And then England's game against England can see them go top. And then France can top everybody with their game. There's lots to play for in this final round. The squads have been named for all of the games. We'll go through them. This one particular, Italy against Ireland. What are the changes? Because both sides have made a few. Recent history, predictions, stats, all that jazz. You guys can let us know your thoughts on how this one is going to go. You do kind of got to wonder, because Italy caught France on the back of a bad loss in terms of their loss to England. And they got kind of dealt to the next game. Will Ireland be looking to do the same to Italy? Italy really need to step up their performances because in the last couple of games they have shipped a few points, but Ireland is going to be mad. We will start with the Italians because they are at home for this one, and Coach Gonzalo Cansada has made a few changes. The most notable, so they've dropped the captain to the bench. Michele Lamaro, who is usually one of the first names off the Italian team sheet, has dropped to the number 20 jersey, so Manuel Zuliani starts ahead of him. I don't mind that, because Zuliani, in some regards, is a better player than Lamaro. He's certainly usually more effective at winning turnover ball, and he was certainly more effective on the ball carry last week. The Italians struggled to bust through some of the English tackles. With Zuliani, he had 8 defenders beaten, which was more than the entire Italian forward pack had together. So, yes, Zuliani was effective on the carry. So I think he deserves a start. Like, Lamaro is usually the combination of the tackle machine plus the leadership. Well, he's been out-tackled by Negri in this year's Six Nations. So Negri continues on at 6 and Lamaro drops to the bench. So it is a little bit of a change. The front row also sees some changes. Fischetti continues on at loose head, but Lucchesi is promoted from the bench and likewise Ferrari. So it is a little bit of rotation for the front row. Dino Lamb is also back into the 23 alongside Ruzza in the second row. So a change that sees Nicolo Cannone, who is kind of usually that big lump of a lock. He drops to the bench, so maybe a little bit more skills play to come with Lamb there. We'll kind of have to wait and see. Lorenzo Cannone also starts at number 8 this week ahead of Ross Vincent, who showed some absolute wheels to score his try against England last week, but it's not enough to see him continue on in the starting lineup. Lorenzo Cannone is a real workhorse. He will get through some kind of direct carries, potentially looking to play him directly up against Caelan Doris. Maybe that's the thinking there, because Doris, also loves a carry for Ireland. Page-Relo with that big boot of his is also up from the bench to start this week ahead of Vani, who drops back down, and Paolo Garbisi continues on at number 10. The midfield has been one of the most consistent areas of Italian rugby under Gonzalo Cansada. Menoncello and Brex continue on, the only change there being Brex gets the captain the side this week, and it's probably the strongest area of this Italian squad. Like, if there's one area that's genuinely been outstanding, it's the telepathic relationship that Brex and Menoncello have. They bust tackles, they get turnovers, they set each other up for tries, they, put each other into space. They are just a really good duo. And Brex has the added responsibility of being captain this week. Monty Ioane switches wings. He's on the left for this one because Capuozzo shifts from fullback to the right wing, and then Tommaso Allan is reinstated in the fullback role. Remember, he was on the bench last week, so potentially looking to kick a fair bit of ball Ireland's way. But it is for Quesada a little bit more change than we're used to seeing. He's usually been kind of more on the consistency side. Nicotera drops to the bench. Spagnolo and Zilocchi are the other front row replacements. Nicolo Cannone, like I mentioned, is alongside Lamaro and Vincent as the forward replacements. So it is a 6-2 split for the Italians. Vani, as I mentioned, drops to the bench, and Leonardo Marin, the utility back there in the number 23 jumper. So yeah, they've got a bit of versatility there as well, with a few guys who can shift around the park if injuries happen in the back line. Now for the Irish, the axe has been swung at 10, if you want to call it that, or you could just call it a bit of rotation, because Simon needs to be basically said in the press conference, we were going to change things up for this game anyway. It's been a long tournament, and Jack Crowley's an important player. He needs a chance to, direct the team around the park. So he gets a start at 10 this week. So Prendergast drops to the bench. And they've also been bolstered by the return of both wings, Hansen and Lowe. I think they missed them a bit last week, to be fair. I mean, I was having a look at some of the stats, and Lowe's like right up there for try assists and clean breaks for Ireland, and he's got that big cannon boot of his. So I'm not saying it would have changed last week's result, but yeah, James Lowe has just got that bit of unique X factor, doesn't he, in terms of what he can bring. And then Hansen has been a bit unlucky, being kind of in and out of the squad with injuries and whatnot. So yeah, to have both those guys back, I think, is a bit of good news. Likewise, Ringrose suspension has been served, so he is in there at 13, and then Henshaw continues on at 12. It sees Archie drop to the bench, and then also they decided not to go all sentimental and give Cian Healy one last crack. Jack Boyle's on the bench for this one, so that's a bit unfortunate for Cian Healy to not get that one last cap and potentially go out with a win. But, I mean, Simon Easterby just said Jack Boyle needs kind of meaningful game time, so there's limited opportunities for that. So it is him on the bench for this one. The other two guys, Omani and Murray, who will be running out their last time for Ireland, those guys are indeed on the bench. Porter, Sheehan and Beelum, that's the same front row as last week, but then Tyke Furlong was also on the bench. Been waiting to see him play for a long time. Fingers crossed he makes it through the warm-up and everything, because that's where we lost James Lowe last week. So, yes, been a long time coming. He just seems to be, like they mentioned last week, he was close, but not close enough. So he is back. Fingers crossed when he comes off the bench, he gets through the game unscathed. There's also a change in the second row with James Ryan taking Joe McCarthy's spot. So those guys swap starting and bench roles. Tyke Byrne continues on. Jack Conan also promoted to the number 6 jersey this week. So you've kind of got two bigger ball carriers, Doris and Conan, alongside Van der Fleer there as well. And maybe we'll look at the stats a bit later, but getting that kind of punch and go forward is one area that the French were able to nullify the Irish pack a little bit last week. Like, I mean, Caelan Doris had, 65 metres, which is pretty bloody good. But the rest of the starting Irish forwards combined had 73. So they need to get a bit of go forward, and Conan certainly brings a bit of that. Gibson-Park and Crowley's the 9-10, like I mentioned. So Crowley will be looking to make the most of a start. And Hugo Keenan there at fullback. He was certainly not that well talked about last week because Ireland ended up losing, but he was their top guy for defenders beaten, top guy for clean breaks. He was looking elusive on the ball carries, and plus, pretty safe at the back. So fingers crossed he's able to get himself some opportunities too. Gus McCarthy, Boyle and Furlong, those are the front row replacements. Joe McCarthy is there on the bench, like as I mentioned. Omani, Murray, Prendergast and Archie. So it's a 5-3 split for the Irish, which is kind of a bench seemingly a bit going out of fashion, but we do see it every now and again. Stats-wise, Ireland had a heap of ball against the French, but they couldn't really make it count. Interestingly, the defenders beaten count for Ireland is actually kind of on the low side across the entire Six Nations. They're only above the Italians with around 19 defenders beaten a game. Part of that is Ireland having less ball this year than what we're used to seeing from them. But yeah, it's just unusual to see them a little bit on the lower side. Like even Wales is slightly higher. The Italians are slightly lower. Like England's getting 27 a game, and they're not a side kind of renowned for busting that many tackles, but that's where they're at. The Scots are like at 30. But obviously rugby's not just about any one stat. Doesn't mean you're getting wins just because you're getting defenders beaten. You look at where the Scots are on the table, but that's just one thing where it is. The Italians, the biggest concern when I look at their numbers is just the second half. Like the points difference for the Italians across the first half of the Six Nations of every game, they're at minus 19, which is still negative, but it's not miles off across 4 games that they've played thus far, whereas their second half points difference is minus 58. So, I mean, even last week, right, the first half was competitive. England really put them away in the second. So, Italy need to go 80 minutes, and there was so much space for England to get the ball wide. Ireland would have been looking at that for sure. Recent history between the sides is all Ireland's way. The average score is 42-11. There are not really any close games in the last 5, the closest being 34-20 in Rome back in 2023, which is still, it's pretty emphatic. The last Italian win over Ireland goes all the way back more than a decade ago, 2013. A game which had 3 yellow cards, including one to Sergio Parise and one to Brian O'Driscoll. So a couple of legends getting carded in that game. But yeah, in recent times, it has been all Ireland. And that is how it is predicted to go this week. The rugby forecast algorithm says Ireland by 25, and the bookies have got Ireland by 19. So predicted to get it done pretty much in a canter. The table sits, as I said, France 16, England 15, Ireland 14. So Ireland will go up ahead of both those sides if they get a win, either on 18 or 19 points, depending if they get a bonus point. But then with those two teams still to play, Ireland's kind of waiting to see what happens and is, predicted to be passed by those sides once they play their games. But who knows? Ireland will be looking to bounce back after last week's loss, and the Italians just need to play 80 minutes. And as I mentioned, have still got something to play for, with the Welsh only a point behind them on the table as well. It is on at the Stadio Olimpico, 3:15 local kickoff, which is, I think, 3:15 for me in the morning, which is unfortunate. But hey, I'll be getting up to watch it. Luke Pearce from England is the ref. Fingers crossed he has a good game. You guys let us know your thoughts. Do you expect an Irish backlash, the number 3 side in the world now, against number 10 in the ranked Italy? Or do you think the Italians will put in a full 80-minute performance, put a bit of pressure on the boys in green? You guys let us know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Ta-ra.